LEDs only work if,
The flowers are bringing bees.
Only
Get
work.
it, Jed? There's no pollen in the flowers. So it's kind of silly that a bee would come over. But that's how real they look.
but then they fly away because they're like, you're of no benefit to me.
Oh, damn, got me. And then the bee rolls.
Exactly.
Buzzes off. Hey guys, it's Tim Bratz. Welcome to the Legacy Podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Mara Harris, a friend of mine here in Charleston, who owns a company called Celestial Lights. We're going to be really diving into the products, the product development, how they come out with new ideas, new strategies, all the different things that they're doing in order to patent their products and bring them out to market, not just in the wholesale world, but also in the direct-to-consumer world. So she's got an awesome story that I'm excited to dive into with her here with Mara and Celestial Lights. Mara, welcome back to second segment.
Thank you.
I'm excited. We learned a ton about the business, the history of the business, the growth of the business, how the business came to be, how you went from corporate into the entrepreneurial world. I love the idea of this. The skill set that you're bringing is going direct to consumer. From a company that's gone wholesale for 30 years, you're bringing a completely different angle and a fresh perspective on a lot of that. And so I want to dive into that, but also these are all your products. Everything around us right now is your products, and there's a lot of thought that goes into every single one of them. We were talking offline about this light and how all the restaurants should have it because it's got a bug deterrent and all these other things, and I want to understand the thought process that goes into all these things. So let's start out with, why are we going direct to consumer? Why would we want to deal with some complainy, old like somebody who, I think about the person who's bitches and moans at the HOA meetings, right? And selling them a pre-lit Christmas tree or and then they just complain to you about stuff too, right? Like, versus a big business contract and you sell to Brookstone and they buy $2 million a product. Like, why would we want to go direct to consumer? Like, what are the benefits of doing that?
Yeah, so it's so interesting you say that because now we are getting the emails of like, I have a question about this, or oops, I ordered too many, or I didn't order enough and now you're sold out. Like, I need more.
Mm-hmm.
So, being customer support is also on my job description. But no, I think the opportunity that direct-to-consumer brings us is more variety, because when you're selling to wholesalers, you're very dependent on their markets and what does well. So they're going to say, for example, this pot filler here, it's part of our Conanberry collection. And we've got garlands and wreaths and trees that are all in this collection. And so a retailer might say, well, Conanberry did really well, so we just want to order more of Conanberry. And it's like, well, we've got another line too. Another store might say, that one did really well. Or the window hugger candles, we only want those in bronze, Mm-hmm. But what direct-to-consumer allows us is to expand the market, reach a bigger audience, because there is a demand for our products, and we're learning that through direct-to-consumer, and also just create more variety, because we're not bound to what our retailers, what they're doing really, what line is doing really well and their orders. Now we can create more and more lines, more variety, more colors, and it just opens the door for us.
Well, obviously, you got to give a discount big time to the big box retailers, and you don't need to do that, right? Like, you can offer that, if you're giving them a 40% discount to the wholesaler, you can offer a 20% discount and make a bigger margin selling direct to consumer.
Yeah, and then there is just the business perspective,
side,
right? The financial, yeah, exactly. And, I kind of touched on this a little bit in the first part of, the market has really changed. I mean, think about it. When the business first started selling to these garden centers, Amazon and influencers, that wasn't like a huge competitor. Mm-hmm. I mean, now you're competing against Amazon brands, influencers who are pushing products out there. And so everyone is competing against that. Us, garden centers, they all are. And so, as garden centers' orders get smaller because there's more competition, we need to evolve. And direct-to-consumer is that for us.
Yep, I love it. And I think there's, well, answer me, like, do you find I don't really know this world, right? I don't know the product world. I would think, coming from my world, is like the more focused on, hey, we only sell these 10 products, as opposed to, hey, we sell 100 products and we have 100 different SKUs, there'd be efficiency in less things. It sounds like you're able to offer more products, but you keep them inside these very efficient lines and these segments of the berry collection, right? And then here's the I don't know.
The petunias. Yeah.
The petunia collection.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. That's a great
so
example.
you're able to piggyback on these lines and create efficiencies in this segment, and then still be able to offer a larger variety, I guess.
Yeah, and so, it's interesting. This summer is the first. Some garden centers have purchased the boxwoods, not all, but some, the faux boxwoods. This is the first summer that we are offering boxwood. I mean, first time we're doing everything direct to consumer, but we really only had one wholesale buyer who was purchasing the faux florals. And they actually just announced earlier this year that they're going out of business.
Ooh.
And they were a huge customer of ours. So they always bought the faux florals and they did really well. And so this was our first summer. So we did a small run and they came in, earlier in the spring, and we said, let's just do a small order and see how it does. We sold out so quickly. And we realized
And where were you marketing it?
We're doing a lot of paid ads, Instagram, TikTok, all the social channels. But we learned that color really sells. And so we're like, okay, let's do another order of the, right now we just have the purple and yellow and the hot pink and light pink. But we said, let's do more variety. Still the petunias. We also have geraniums, but let's do this floral, but in a different colorway. So to your point again, these sort of lanes that we know are really successful, but offer more variety within that, so that we're not getting crazy, outrageous SKUs and so many different things. We know what works, and so now just offer more variety to appeal to more people.
Is it hard to create a new SKU? Is it hard to, is there a lot of product development? Is there a lot of, hey, send this to China, can they develop it? How long does it take? How many of these can they ship? It takes 9 months to create a new SKU, or can they have it done fairly quickly?
So it's so interesting because this has been the fun part of the learning process for me. So the factories that we work with, we've had relationships with for 30 years, and it's great. And a lot of them, or some of them, are also family-run businesses too, so it's multiple generations. And there's a really great relationship and trust and bond there because they know that we want to make high quality products. And not a lot of people want to make high quality anymore. They just want the cheap stuff that they can just push out and sell and get great margins.
That's a good point. Well, guess what? You can actually get high quality from China. It's not just the cheap stuff.
Exactly. And so our factories are great because they love that. And they know that the better we do, the better they do. And so it's very collaborative. Whenever we want to come up with a new product or a new feature, they're on it. I mean, they are motivated to help us create something. So around, I want to say December, we were working with one of the factories that produces all of our Christmas and florals to come up with a new Christmas line. And it will be ready for this year. So it takes about, it really depends on what it is. It can take 5 months, 6 months, a year, depending on how complex it is. But we're able to get a new line out there and now offer a new Christmas option for everyone.
I guess that's a good part of being seasonal is after the rush, you got a little bit of downtime. You're like, all right, what are we launching next year?
I always say Christmas never ends. Christmas never sleeps.
Yeah.
it's always up. It's always in development.
It's like Santa and the elves, right? They get right back to work for the next season right away.
But our petunias, like I was just saying, we know that those are really successful. So we said, let's do a new colorway, and that's really just dye. So we do some research on our side of what colors we think will sell best. And then we go back to the factory and they, print some samples and they send us pictures, and we'll have a shipment out, at the end of the summer or, late summer. So some things are fairly quick and easy, and some take time because, you know, with the greens, you have to get the right mix. It's not just, you know, we could say we want, you know, this doesn't have any cedar in it, but we have one of our lines that's got some of the spruce and cedar, and then it's, you know, what percent of what leaves and all of that. So there's a lot of back and forth.
You've learned a lot about plants too.
Oh yeah, yes, so much. Everywhere I go, I'm like, that's a nice plant. Yeah. I take pictures.
Yeah. All these words you're saying, I don't know any of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, that one looks nice. I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah.
But I could never reorder it. But it also sounds like this takes you a little bit away from the seasonality, right? Like, this isn't a Christmas plant. This is something that now you got the spring rush and a holiday rush.
Yeah.
Or summer rush.
So I think the progression of our products and how we went from pre-lit Christmas trees to now florals is really interesting because, you know, we started with the trees, the garlands and wreaths, and our North Star is solving common decor challenges. We want to help you decorate in all the places you want to decorate, but are really hard to. So it might be you want a beautiful garland for your mantle, but you don't want to string everything together. You don't want to find the pine cones and the lights and the berries and put it all together and the perfect leaves. Or you've got a front porch that is directly in the sun and you've got 2 little kids and you're, you know, full-time job and you don't have time to water. Okay, well, then we have flowers for you. And we have boxwoods that are, you know, year-round items. So everything we do is very much solution-oriented. We want it to be high quality, we want it to look nice, but we want it to make your life easier.
Do you lead with that in a lot of your marketing?
Yeah.
Talking about pain. I know you're busy. I know you, like my wife just posted something on Instagram the other day of like, I cannot keep anything on my porch alive, right? Like, she's probably getting your ads right now, but this is how you keep this alive. You just buy, you know.
And they look great. So, so it's interesting. My dad has this great story that he was, you know, would be setting up on QVC for Christmas for a Christmas segment, and they had the wreaths at the time they were all plug-in, and he was like, we're so busy hiding the plug-in cord. So he was like, all right, we should do a battery operated wreath. He's like, no cords. And he was like, and we should have, you know, white LED lights on it, really, really good LEDs. But then that sort of evolved into, well, why do we just have to have white lights? What if it can also be multi-lights and you can switch between white or multi? And that solves a problem for so many people where, you know, for us, it was like, well, we don't have to create 2 of everything where it's white only and multi only. And then the retailer doesn't have to say, I sold so many white this year, and this one says I sold so many multicolors this year. So
because it's not that much difference in cost to have just one that does them all versus
but that dial controller, it's patented. LEDs only work in one direction, so the power in one direction. So you flip it to white lights, and that's the power line there. If you flip it to multi, it's a different power. It's going in a different direction. So all of our products are really thoughtfully designed in that
Is this
respect.
direct current versus alternating current? We talking about Edison versus Tesla here?
Yeah, well, now we're getting a little too technical.
Most of the folks who watch this have seen The Men Who Built America and seen the competition in, I don't know, probably episode 7 or 8 of Tesla versus Edison and the current and all that stuff.
That's not me. Sorry. But you know, so he's like, okay, let's do a battery operated wreath. And then it became, you know, window candles. Window candles are very popular, especially in the mid-Atlantic Northeast. And at the time, window candles they were using LEDs and they weren't that bright. And so from the street, it was like, it just looked really dull. And you weren't getting that beautiful candle light. So we said, okay, let's make a great window candle. And my dad had this idea of, well, what if you take the LED and you bend it? So it's brighter on one side and softer on the other side. And so that became a dual intensity LED bulb.
That's so simple.
It's really simple.
It's such a simple idea, but instead of pointing the light up, it just goes that way.
Yeah. And then,
so how do you know which side it's the black thing?
So.
Or you just look at it?
Yeah.
Holy cow, it's like dramatically brighter.
Yeah. So the bright goes on the outside and then the soft on the inside. So you're not blinding, anyone if you're sitting at your dining table and you've got them in the window. So, and then we said, all right, well, now how tall do you make the candle?
I was going to say, it just went down.
So do you make it 9 inches? Do you make it 12 inches? What if someone has mullion bars at a different height? And so we said,
bigger's not always better, Mara.
That's right.
All right.
So we said, let's make it adjustable. So our candles, you pop out and you peel this rubber base off, put it on the bottom, and now you have a taller candle.
Wow.
So,
and that's simple. You don't need 6 different SKUs for 6 different sizes. It's just a little.
Exactly. And then we said, okay, well, some people have really narrow windowsills, and people were complaining about them falling off.
Because they're circular, so you made them oval instead?
So we made a patented base that's oval and then has a flat back, so it sits flush against the window. So if you have a really narrow windowsill, you don't have to worry about it. And then the next thing was, well...
Are you guys doing like customer surveys on every single, like, hey, give me some feedback on this? Or are you just, out there and talking to customers? Like, where are you getting the feedback from necessarily?
Customers, at the time it was, I'll say it's some customers, but then it's also just common problems. Again, like everything we're doing are challenges that we experience too. And so it's like, well, what would be nice for me is probably going to be nice for somebody else. So you think about, okay, great, I've got this beautiful window candle now. It shines brightly. It fits on my narrow windowsill, but am I going to have to turn it on and off every time? And we said, well, let's put a simple timer in there. And then it was like, well, do we do it for 6 hours? Do we do it for 12 hours? How long? And then we said, no, let's offer 6, 8, or 12, and someone can set it. And then we made the bulb so it can be a twinkle or a steady.
And technology's allowed you to do all these things without really increasing the cost too much.
Exactly. And, obviously we didn't come out with this out the gate. We've iterated over the years. Our first window candle, was different. But after our own experiences, hearing from customers, hearing from our wholesale buyers, what the feedback they were getting, we've evolved.
What's the difference in cost from like your first variation of this to this variation of this?
Oh God, I don't know.
like a simple one that you would make without all the clicks and all the timers and the flicker versus the steady light and then the size difference and all that stuff. Would it be half the cost, or is it double the cost, or is it 10% more?
I think it depends, because each of these features adds on a couple dollars at retail maybe, right? So it's like...
So what does this sell for, retail price?
This one's a pack. This one comes in a pack of 4, so it's about like $34, $40.
Okay, so it's about $10 per light, right? And then how many batteries does it take?
3 AA.
3 AA batteries.
And when you use the
Do the batteries run out pretty quick?
No, so I was just going to say, when you use the timer function, this will last you all season.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that's a big pain. And I think that's one of those things that anybody who has anything battery operated, that's the one technology that continues to be constrained because they can't make better batteries.
Yeah.
But they can make more efficient use of the energy that gets pulled from the batteries, which is what you guys have done.
Exactly. And that's another, with our Christmas greens, our battery operated wreaths, garlands, we were very intentional to use a steel and rubber gasket battery box that takes D batteries because it will last longer. If you buy a wreath that has 3 AA batteries, that's not going to last.
I have one.
No, and you're going to keep replacing it, and it's going to be annoying.
And I just don't do it anymore. I just cut it off, and I just put it up there without lights.
Exactly. Now you don't have lights, but you bought a wreath with lights with the intention of having a wreath up there with lights on.
Yep.
And then you get frustrated. And so, we don't want that. And our battery boxes have that seal, so they're weatherproof. Water, moisture, it's not going to get in, and it's going to last.
That's cool. There's a lot of thought that goes into this. That's really cool.
No, there is, and that's something that's so cool about all of our products. I mean, this patio lamp, for example. We see them everywhere now: bars, restaurants, people's, powder rooms, offices. So we noticed that, you're sitting outside, having dinner, having a drink, whatever. The sun goes down, the light's on, and all the bugs come out. And you're like, well, this is annoying, because now I'm sitting out here, but I'm being swarmed by bugs. So we said, well, what if we create a patio lamp that has an amber light, which deters bugs? And so this is...
How did you learn that? Is there science behind that?
Yeah, there is. It's like amber, purple, pink, maybe. Those all sort of keep bugs away. So that's another...
Is amber like the soft white that we're all aware of, or it's a little bit more yellow tinted?
No, it's a little bit more, so it's bright out, but you can see it's a little...
That is much more goldish.
Yeah, but it kind of gives you that like golden hour look too, which I like.
Oh, me too. I was going to ask, do you guys... obviously there's been a lot of this bright white light movement in a lot of the Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
I like the yellow tone to things.
Yeah, so
like
there's...
the classic Christmas lights.
The lights now are so intense, they're almost blinding, and I could get into all the different lights that you put on that are on garlands and wreaths, and there's 3mm, there's 5mm, there's the traditional. So it is, you have to know which ones to use for outside of your home versus inside, because the newer ones are so bright. And then there's also...
that's a tricky thing. What drives me nuts at my apartment buildings, in my own home, all these, is there's so many different variations of types of lights and regular light bulbs, right? I get soft white from one store in Christmas lights, and then I get soft white from another, and they're two different colors.
Yeah.
And there's no cohesiveness across all of it. How can I better monitor that?
Yeah, it's really just looking at the type of bulb, honestly, I think, and the wattage and what it says.
Really?
Yeah, but it's
so you got to get educated on all
you
that
kind
stuff.
of it's technical, and so that was something.
I need to staff that out to somebody else, though. I need somebody else to do the who to do the how.
Yeah, we do store visits in around November, December, to retailers that carry our items, and we do a little competitive intel also. And something that we heard is customers get frustrated because they buy a garland and a wreath, and they like how it looks together, but the whites are different. And so we make sure that all of our whites are the same white, all of our multis, the same multi, so that way, let's say I like the cone and berry pot filler, but I want a mixed cedar wreath. Well, white light on here is the same as white light on the wreath, because we don't want that frustration.
And then it's like, it makes my life easier if I just come and buy everything from you, and now the amount of revenue per customer starts increasing for you guys, because everything's just consistent across the board.
Yeah.
Versus going to a Home Depot or a Lowe's where there's all these different types of carriers and hey, you're picking out different things, but it's different kinds of lights. And to somebody like me that's absolutely OCD about this stuff, that makes a big difference. I don't want to do that. I just want to go and make sure everything's going to be consistent and congruent throughout the entire home.
Yes, you're not the only one.
Good.
I do.
Good.
And there's plenty of people that also feel that way.
So getting back to this, because I think this is really fascinating.
Yeah.
It creates that soft light, and it's a deterrent to bugs.
Yes, and we made it. I don't have the other stem with me, but on the table right now. But each patio lamp comes with two different stems, so you can have taller, shorter, and it just easily disassembles, reassembles.
So it's kind of like the ceiling fans, right? When you buy a ceiling fan, it's got the short one that's up to the ceiling, and then the longer one that can float down from the ceiling.
Right, and then they come with, this has a magnetic hook that attaches to it, so if you want to hang it from a string above, you can. And then
so you just take this whole thing off.
Take the whole shade off.
Only hang the shade.
Yeah, and then we then also thought, like we were talking about iterating, right? And how can we continue to improve our products and offer more features? So we said, some people like putting lights in like an empty wine bottle. So we said, all right, for $1 more at retail, we can create a bottle stopper attachment. So it will now come with the 2 different height stems, the hook, and a bottle stopper that screws in here, and you can put it over an empty wine bottle. And people like that for decoration.
Yeah.
You know, some people save that stuff.
Does it make sense to include that in every single one, or to sell that as a different item?
We include it in every single one. Yeah.
So it's not a differentiator. I guess are you guys always just A/B testing everything, just split testing everything, of saying, hey, if we price it at $20 and it includes the bottle opener, or we price it at $17.50 and it doesn't include it, are we selling more? Are we selling less?
Yeah. So in this case, the bottle stopper was...
We sell it for $5 differential, and then we make 22.5 versus...
Right. In the case of the patio lamp with the bottle stopper, we were like, we'll increase the retail price by like $1. Mm-hmm. That you're like, we'll include it in all of them. Mm-hmm. Then, you know...
Is it really that much? Is it an actual dollar in order to... Well, I guess it doesn't cost you $1 in order to make it, right? Yeah. It creates more margin, creates more value. But it's seen as $1 worth of value to the consumer, so they're willing to pay it.
And you know, and then you do the math, right? Of like, it's also psychological. Of like, okay, well, $1 more. Most people aren't going to question that. But then it's also like, well, how do you price things? Do you do 99? Do you do 99 cents, 50 cents? Do you a flat, even number, 25 cents? It's like, there's a lot of the psychological. You know, there's obviously pricing for us of like, okay, this is what our ideal margin is, but it's also like, well, what's a fair price for a consumer? We don't want to price people out. We don't want our prices to be so crazy high that they're like, not going to buy something.
Yeah, I mean, typically, I would think that in the product, like I know for restaurants, for instance, it's whatever the cost of the food is, and they multiply it by 3, right? And then, so a third of it is actual cost of goods sold, a third of it goes to overhead, and then the margin should be around 30 to 35%, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then everything takes care of itself. I would think most product businesses are in a similar type framework like that.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, for us, it's great because we have such low overhead because we're not a huge corporate, entity, and we're not a huge team.
You don't have office overhead. You don't have all this product and development and research and all this stuff that you have to do. It's the team that's doing it, right? It's really just going to salaries.
Yeah, and that's what allows us to have competitive pricing.
And have really quality products at competitive pricing.
And that's it, is that we will never sacrifice on quality because we don't want to sell you something that's going to fall apart in a year.
It's not good for anybody.
No. And then you're just frustrated and you don't have that's not our brand, and that's not the type of customers we want.
Yep. No, I think it's fascinating. Are you guys on, like if I look up your products on Amazon, do you guys have like an Amazon store where you can sell on there?
We do, yeah. Right now we're selling just the window candles, but shortly we will have everything up there.
And so everything will be there, so you can, I mean, at the end of the day, they are the big box retailer now, right? So you got to get with them.
Yeah.
Is it similar where you can get on Amazon? Do you have to do the same process as getting into a Walmart store, or like being on Walmart.com? Are those different, or is that just not your demographic?
Amazon is, if I understand your question, Amazon is fairly easy.
Right. I'm thinking like from a Walmart. You hear about people trying to get into a Walmart store and how difficult that is. Is it easier to get on Walmart.com,
yes.
or are you just not even on Walmart.com?
Walmart, so we've been talking about getting on Walmart.
Just there's so many buyers there.
Yeah, so currently we're on Amazon, Wayfair, and Overstock, and a few other .coms. We've talked about adding Walmart. Walmart is much easier to do Walmart.com than to get into the store.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the growth trajectory on Walmart's e-commerce, and it is exceeding what happened with Amazon. Like, obviously, they're 10 years later than Amazon, but if you look at the growth curve of the first 10 years of Amazon and the first 10 years of Walmart.com, although it's 10 years later or whatever, the growth curve of Walmart is like going bananas right now, exceeding what Amazon did. There's probably more comfortability in the marketplace and all that kind of stuff, but just the amount of reach that they have, where it makes sense to kind of go in there and you offer a wholesale price or whatever, they make a margin on it too, but to have the breadth of they buy your product there. Now they're familiar with your name. Then they go to your own, your website. In order from there, I think is a big differentiator there.
Yeah, and people also have their loyal, places that they shop. Some people love Wayfair, and some people love Overstock. Some people love Amazon, Walmart, whatever it is. And so we don't want to not be there. I mean, it's great. It's better for us if everyone shops through our website, but we also understand the reach that those companies have, and that people are just loyal to shopping there. They love that.
Are there requirements that you cannot sell your own stuff cheaper than what it's at on Amazon?
No.
There's nothing like that, right? So if you said, hey, you're buying from Amazon, you send them the product and say, hey, if you're looking to buy anything else, come check us out at this website. Here's a 20% off coupon, and everybody gets 20% off, and that makes you more margin, right, than if they went through Amazon or Walmart or Overstock or any of the other websites, and at the same time starts bringing them over to you guys.
And you have to incentivize customers to do that too. So it's like right now, it's like, get 10% off, sign up for our newsletter. And then with our newsletter, we'll give little freebies here and there, or little discounts, only if you're on our, for our website. And we're able to adjust prices easily across really all, but our own site we can adjust.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So what is the next? It's only been 12 months that you've been with them now, right?
Not even.
You've kind of been with the company and started growing this, the direct-to-consumer side. What does the next 12 to 24 months look like? How would you love to see this grow, or how would you love to see it positioned over the next year to 2 years?
Yeah.
What are the goals there?
My goal is really to grow the business outside of Christmas. I would like to be less seasonally dependent, and I think we're doing a good job of that so far. I think this summer has really proven that there is a huge demand for faux boxwoods and florals.
And then the lights, right? Like there's a lot of things, and you see the string lights up all over the place now, and so it's not just a seasonal thing, right? It's a lot more year round than it ever used to be.
Yeah, and I mean, I would like to grow the business so we're less dependent on Christmas, and I would like to grow the business that it's more, right now I would say in terms of the split, it's like wholesale and DTC is about 50-50 after losing our one big wholesale buyer. We'd love for it to be more 75 DTC, 25 wholesale.
It's almost like the base salary plus the big pops of commission. It's like if I could just have a consistent base that if I lose one customer, it doesn't adversely affect our revenue by 30, 40%.
Right.
Like that's a very stressful situation to be in versus, hey, I know the baseline's taken care of, all the overhead's taken care of with this baseline direct to consumer, all the, all the product costs, all the overhead costs, and like everybody's good. Now we can go after some big box retailers or these bigger accounts, and it allows us to have these big pops of revenue without the stress of needing to make that deal happen.
Exactly. And when I started back in August and we, launched the whole DTC endeavor, we knew it was important and that it was time to make that shift. But then when our big wholesale buyer told us they were going out of business this year, we were like, okay, that runway to make DTC successful has just shortened. And so we don't want to be so dependent, right, on if a big buy, if a wholesale buyer puts in a huge order this year and then they shrink their order next year, you don't want to worry so much. You want to be diversified.
I find that a lot of the growth in my business, at least, has come from those constraints. Having constraints put on me, which I don't like it when somebody else puts the constraint on me, but when I say, hey, this is the goal by this timeline, and I schedule something that it has to be done by that date, I'm creating the constraint now. And I have a little bit more control over it, and then I just drive, because it's like, nobody likes constraints. Nobody likes to feel like squeezed, but that's where the real growth happens.
Absolutely.
That's where you're forced out of your comfort zone and be like, oh shit, our revenue is going to drop by 40% because of this one big box retailer, and we got to go and figure out how we're going to regenerate that other 40% of revenue. lights a fire under your ass in order to go and make it happen. If they're still there, and they're still ordering, then there's a comfortability and there's no real drive and urgency in order to make it happen. But those constraints, again, as long as it's not put on you, even when it's put on you, it's good long term, but it's very painful in the situation. But if you can create the constraints on your own, that's what I try to do in business. That's why I'm always goal setting. I'm always like, what does it look like for the next 12 months? I gotta have it done. And I play these games with myself of like, if I had a gun to my head and somebody is like, you gotta make this happen in the next 90 days, how would I make it happen? Well, I can't possibly do just more of what I'm already doing because it's gonna take too much time. I gotta hire this person, I gotta put this system in place. And I play these little games in my head in order to then create the constraints, in order to ask myself better questions, in order to get better results.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, like, we know what we do well, and so it's just like, do more of that. We know what sells, do more of that. Offer more variety. We don't need thousands of SKUs and things to just be sitting in our warehouse, you know, like waiting to be sold year over year. We don't want that. We want to do what we do well, and we want to do more of that, and we want to offer more variety. And the constraints thing, I mean, when things don't go well, that's when the most growth happens. And that's when you're really tested. And, you know, it's sink or swim.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We need to put a buyout clause in your contract with your dad to buy the company now before you drive revenue up here and he makes you buy it up here. That's the key. That should be on the list for the next 12 months. Here's my option. This is my price per share. I get to buy in at this for the growth that I create over time.
Tim, I like it.
Mara, I appreciate you being here.
It was awesome.
So much great insights and really fascinating stuff. And I love to watch the business, and I'm excited to watch the direct-to-consumer side grow over the course of the next couple of years.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Mara, where can people reach out to you and check out Celestial Lights?
celestialathome.com or Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, all Celestial at Home.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you.